So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a round of applause and please help me welcome on stage Sam Singh.
Mr. Tobacco Wala, what a class act. He named four of my employers in my own journey: Gillette, Procter & Gamble, Google, and now ByteDance, TikTok. And that's been an interesting arc for me personally to see how how the role of things have changed. So I think something that's hitting the digital world today, but that's and it's been a kind of an unkept secret for the offline world for a really long time, has been the fact that the number one driver of ROI is creative effectiveness. By far, no doubt, all the stuff that we can do in terms of optimization of our campaigns, and I'm basically a media guy, but I say that is great. But having really impactful creativity and creative is something that just cuts through. And so we should always keep that at at the back of our mind. And the point that he made behind the data, which linked back to the people, what I carry away from that is really, why are people thinking and behaving in a certain way? Knowing the why sometimes is more important than the how much, how often, how well, how frequently. And just understanding of the why, which usually is a qualitative insight, it could be based on numbers or not, makes the difference. So what I'm going to talk about is a few things on TikTok, and what I plan to do is, by the end of this short presentation, is leave you with a better understanding of the platform. So we will aim for that. Is to feel inspired and comfortable with what are the creative elements and how to work on the platform, and also kind of know how and when to work with us. I'll start with what I believe is really what we are about. Though we are a technology and a database company, I really believe that we are all about inspiring creativity and enriching people's lives. That is what I truly think is what we stand for. And we use all of the technology, all of the data, all of the ML, AI, all that fun stuff to really bring out these two facts. And that is something that we should always remember as we deploy technology for our consumers. So I think the first thing is, what is TikTok? It's the world's leading platform for for short video. But really, I think it's a place that does two things. It enables people to create content very easily, and then it enables people to consume content very easily. As simple as that, no more complications, right? And like I said, that our mission is to inspire and enrich. And it's a platform where there are trending conversations that happen across the world, not just in one geography, among strangers, and not bound by language necessarily, right? And it's a platform that has been mobile first. In fact, there is no TikTok.com that you can go onto and consume content. So it comes with a very different mindset as well, which is the first large platform built in the age of of a handheld device. And it offers vibrant diversity. So I'll just share a short video and then we'll move on to the next slide.
3, 2, 1, girls wanna have fun. I wanna have some fun. Some fun. I wanna have some 3, 2, 1, girls wanna have fun. If the man don't dance, he's done. I wanna go dress up real nice and find someone who's ready to run. 3, 2, 1, girls wanna have fun.
So that just gave you a sneak preview into the kind of I would say, the kind of immersion that users have on our platform, fans have on our platform. I'm going to talk about 4 aspects of the platform that make this platform tick, really from a user perspective. And it's going to be what I call the 4 C's, which is creative expression, ease of consumption, community, and cause. And I've already touched upon 2 of them, but we'll go in more detail. About a month ago, there was an article in the Economic Times. It was on the front page, right in front, quoting people from Amazon and from Flipkart, saying that in the recent past, they had seen a huge surge in sale of mobile phone accessories, right? And I think it was to the order of either 10x or 100x. And they were not talking about things like mobile covers, chargers, that kind of stuff. They were talking about things like tripods, lights. So really low-cost tripods, really low-cost lights. And what they ascribed it to was growth of platforms like TikTok. In fact, they called out TikTok, saying that the arrival of platforms like this has made every person who owns a smartphone believe that they are a content creator. And they are not looking for fancy studios with fancy software on fancy, computers, which weigh like, kind of 20 kilos to operate. They are looking for their phone, stand in a light, and they're off to the races. So that is how easy it is to create content. Similarly, from an ease of consumption side, it's a platform where you don't really need to follow anybody, form a group, inform your friends, your colleagues, your classmates, your relatives. It's a place where content comes to you based on what you like to watch, and content comes to you based on what content is doing well with other people out there. So it's that crazy mix of those two things that, that drives like serendipity mixed with preference. And those two coming together is really what makes consumption on this platform super simple, super immersive, super easy. Two of the things that I had not figured out before I joined this company are the next two, which is community and cause. And community is one of those areas where, given the trans-border nature of this platform, you could have a creative that starts in say, Los Angeles. From there, it will come to Lucknow, and there'll be a transformation that will happen to it. From Lucknow, it could go to Lima. There will be another transformation. And finally, when it lands up in London, you can see the DNA of that content from back to its roots in LA, but it is a very, very different piece by the time it arrives. And that's the power of the community out there, right? It is people interacting with people, not because they know each other, but because they like what each other are creating or is creating. The last and the most interesting one is cause. And that is something that, personally, I never expected to see on this platform. But I think it's a mix of the kind of platform it is, which makes participation really easy. And you marry that with the kind of audiences who are on this platform, who are basically people, say up to 35, years old. This is a generation that is not the me generation. They are not the baby boomers, right? They are not people like from my generation. This is a generation that truly believes in what is happening out there, leaving a better footprint than what they got. And therefore, the kind of participation that we see on this platform with causes, and I'll share a few examples with you, is absolutely mind-boggling. And it's amazing to see that there is this set of users on TikTok linking with causes that are common to all of us on a platform which is a short video platform. And you may think, really, is that happening? And the answer is truly it is, right? So that's on the 4 C's that I just wanted to share with you. I'll take a little bit of a segue into what's been our journey so far to give you a little bit of a context. It's not a very old company. It's a young company. And then we'll talk about, once it came to India, what's been our journey here. So the global part and the India part. And then we'll talk a little bit more about the formats and how brands like yours are using the platform. Finally, we will wrap up with the CSR stuff. Yeah, sounds good? Okay. So that's our global journey. We started in 2017, but today we are in about 150 markets with 75 languages, all the way from Japan to the United States. And India is one of the kind of jewels in the crown as far as this operation is concerned. And we are really grateful for the response that we've seen from our users. Many of these users are first generation that grew up on digital, on smartphones, and they've taken to this platform like ducks to water. So it's a very, very humbling and yet a very, very energizing story for those of us who work in this company. Let's talk about India. We started out in 2017, as I talked about, when ByteDance acquired Musical.ly, which was an American business. And then we transformed from there into TikTok in August of 2018, right? We capped off an interesting year last year in December by being selected as one of Google Play's best apps, or being most entertaining. In fact, I was speaking with my colleagues. The office in India got set up on Christmas Eve last year. So that's how young we are in terms of an on-the-ground operation, in the country. March of 2019, we created our first safety center with 10 major Indian languages. So the other things that I see, I've worked in many, many companies, is the rapid speed at which this company and all of us do things for the best of our users. I mean, within about 8 or 9 months of being in the market, we already have a content safety center in 10 languages that is absolutely sparkling. From there, we had a minor hiccup, which many of you would know about, which was the interim takedown of the app for a week or two in the April of 2019. And thanks to the love from our users, it really bounced back in the month of May to once again become the #1 downloaded app. So that's something that happened in May. June, we held our first Creators Lab. We are, I think, the only company to have announced a data center in India to be established over the next few years. I mean, today, like, our data is stored in US and Singapore, similar to what like all other companies do. But we said we will take the next step and actually bring it all within the shores of the country. So that was what happened in the month of July. We started doing a few other things. We launched our first brand safety campaign, shortly after that, which was #WaitAsec2Reflect. And this was really born from the fact that given a platform which is so easy to create content on, and given a population in this country which has gone from about 45 million digital consumers to about 450 million digital consumers over, let's say, 3 to 4 years, thanks to Jio and thanks to the other telcos, we have a lot of new people who've come onto the web who are today creating content, probably who are not functionally very literate. What is their journey? How do they understand on like what are good practices or not? What's the best way to be responsible citizens on the web? So that was another initiative that we kicked off. And Diwali for 2019 was really cool for us, where TikTok users shared about 12 billion videos using #TikTok Diwali, right? And secured over about 17 billion views during a 10-day campaign. And they uploaded about more than 3 million videos. So that's the scale of content creation and content consumption that we are truly blessed to see in India. So I'm talking only all India numbers out here. And then we launched the #EduTalk program, which got launched a few weeks ago. Really the next step on our journey of making sure that we do our small bit towards driving better internet education and then education in general with our citizens. So that's where we are, October to November, yeah. I'll talk a little bit about content trends and what is working and doing well and what is trending for us, because the kind of, the stereotypical image is that this is a song and dance platform, right? Because a lot of videos that go viral outside of the platform. By the way, we are an open platform in that sense that we allow content that is created on like our platform to be shared, off platform as well. So the kind of 6 main ones are, obviously there's music and dance, but you also have tech, sports, and motivational. So those 5 categories and kinds of content contribute to majority of video uploads and views on the platform. But having said that, we also have a few other categories that are rising really, really fast. So that's DIY, food, travel, but also beauty, gaming, and singing. So singing, like, slightly different from music, where music is more, where you are creating stuff on your own. In singing, it's a lot of duets. It's a lot of forms where you're taking basic music and doing what we call in India like playback singing, right? Which by itself is like such an Indian concept that if you tell somebody in the West or in China that there is a playback singer, they kind of ask you, can you explain that to me? Anyway, so that's what's happening in terms of content trends on the platform. The other thing that's happening on the platform is that it is going beyond the classic stereotypes of male metro and millennials. And truly, it's a platform that's where you have women both creating and consuming. Metro is a really stronghold for the platform, but it has gone way beyond that. With 200 million app downloads, that would be but natural. And it's gone beyond millennials. Today, you find people on the platform who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, in fact, even 60s or 70s, because one of the other micro trends that we are seeing is families coming together to create content. So it's not just an individual endeavor anymore. It's beginning to become a social phenomena from the content creation side. I'll talk a little bit about what works on our platform. So all this is great history. We are growing gangbusters. You've understood about the kind of consumers who are there. What kind of habits do they have? I think the next question to really look at is, if I'm a brand marketeer or their partner agency person, is what are some of the principles that really work to make engaging content that would give us a deep conversation between brands and users and therefore a higher brand ROI. And what we have for that is what we call Sync. It's just 4 principles, and I'll talk about each one of those. Keep it short. In this age of multitasking among users who are below 35 years of age, 8 seconds is kind of where they begin to zone out. I think the days of having really long content, long format content which stands by itself is probably not the place to be. What works really well is if you've got a truly engaging story which is long, but within that you have a way of like getting people in the real short, right? Or you just go with short format. Influence with creators. This is a platform where there are many creators, not just the big names, but micro-influencers. And this is a platform where people love to create and to share, and then other people love to consume the work that they have created. So it's a platform where it's very natural to bring in people who could be partnering your brand story. Try making it native, right? Make it seem like it is part of the, of the content that people swipe through in the feed, rather than making it truly stand out and jar. And the last one I would say, go into co-creation. Do a jugalbandi between your brand and your fans to make sure that truly something magical comes out. I'm going to show you examples of each one of these, and then we will go more into looking at some of the ad formats, and then how does, for example, that jugalbandi come to life on the platform. So in terms of examples, I'm going to show you one example of each one of these. The first one is going to be an example of short format, right? And in that short format, you will also see a very cute use of an effect. So let's take a look at it.
Hey, hey, oh! Wait a minute.
So that's it. That's all this girl has to talk, about and share. She's used one of the effects that I talked about. It would have probably taken her 15 minutes with her phone and a cheap tripod, and she has become a content producer. So that's what I say when I talk about that creating content on this platform is not about having a fancy studio with a dubbing room and these big lights on spot and a really high-powered machine which has got like editing software, and then you huff and puff over it for a few nights and then it comes out, which is really great, but you don't need it for the millions of fans who are using it today. The second one is about the creators, and I just want to give a little bit of a backdrop about this person. She's Nagma, the lady in the second video. She has a business degree, and she talks about fashion style. She's a dance icon, and she's got about 11 million people following her channel. So that's the other way in which you can view content, is by following people, or you could just not follow anybody and let the platform serve to you. So let's see what she has to say, and she's talking about a brand.
Hi guys, so 1 Million Audition is back with a bang, and this time they have the most beautifully crafted Honor 10 smartphones as their content partners. Auditions are starting from the 17th of May, that is today, and it will end on the 31st of May. And there are many categories to take part in, such as food review, special skills, sports, singing, and my favorite, wines. So join the 1 Million Audition and stand a chance to win this beautiful phone, Honor 10, Beauty in AI. So go ahead, make amazing videos. Bye.
So did you guys hear that aircraft and and in the background, probably she lives in a place which is on the flight path. In Delhi, that would be Vasant Kunj. In Bombay, I don't know, maybe Bandra or somewhere. She doesn't have a soundproof studio. She's okay with it. And so are the people who follow her. They don't have a problem in getting a bit of real life dose into it. The third one is a very interesting one. That is actually a brand, story of Flipkart. And it links back to the story that I talked about, like going from LA to Lucknow, right? Where people can play together. And that's a format called Duet. So on the right, you see, which is Mr. Bachchan, you see the brand asset. The audio track is the brand asset, but the stuff on the left is this young guy has now made this video his own. And he is not a paid influencer. He's just, he's just an average, Jacob on the platform. And he's decided that, hey, there's this thing with Amitabh Bachchan, there is a soundtrack, let me give my version of it.
कुछ बहुत बड़ा धमाका होने वाला है बहुत बड़ा.
So this was, I think, a hashtag challenge that ran under during Big Billion Days, and about 18,000 such videos got created by people spontaneously, nobody paying them. Just got created and posted back on the platform with their interpretation of what does this Flipkart Big Dhamaka mean to each one of them. The next one, co-creation, is something similar, just slightly different. It's for the brand OLX, where once again the audio track is a brand asset, and these two young people have made it their own.
अबे ये किसका है?
मेरा है। शक्ल देखी है? अरे OLX देखा है?
Very simple creative. Once again, I think about more than 9,000 such videos were created by people responding to OLX, the brand, and the brand story that comes with it. So these are the kind of things that people do on this platform. They want to create and share their creativity with the whole world. It's not necessarily linked to what I did this morning and share it with my classmates. It can go out to anybody out there. They have the innate confidence that this is a platform where what I create can be watched by absolute strangers. And then there are strangers who just see that content and sometimes they respond back. And the jugalbandi that I talked about, happens and takes a life of its own. So that's that. I'll jump into a few formats from our product suite. The first two are really what happened when you open the app. So it's a takeover and a top view, and let's see each one of those. So when you're clicking the app on the phone home screen, this is what happens.
All those days watching from the windows, standing here, it's all so clear.
Clear picture, real magic. Vivo V17 Pro, clear as real.
So that piece could be up to 15 seconds, or in fact up to 60. It's your choice. And the other one is a much shorter format, like that's a roadblock, which is about 3 to 5 seconds long. This one's without sound. And this is the first thing that you see when you open the app, and then you move on. The next two formats that I will show after this are, one of them is an in-feed, where there is a regular native content, and then you see the ad after that. And the second one has got effects in it. So looks like not just am I a victim of being late, I'm also a cause of it. So I plan to speed up and just finish quickly. The one on the right uses AR, VR based special effects, and it's an interesting take on that. Okay, the next one that I'm going to talk about is the hashtag challenge, which you've seen a few examples of how do brands and and their fans communicate with each other and create magic. And the example that I'm going to share with you is that of Pepsi, which is the swag step challenge. I'll start with showing you what was their basic creative, which they've used in multimedia, including television, which has got Disha Patani and Tiger Shroff. And then we'll just see a couple of renditions on how that plays out. So that was the content that was that was put in by the brand. The next one is two influencers who who collaborated with the brand and then made it their own. The guy on the left is a guy called Manjul Khattar. He's a 21-year-old BCom graduate, and he has a passion for acting. He's from Gurgaon. And the one on the right is a lady called Ashika Bhatia. And she shared space with Salman Khan and Prem Ratan Dhanpayo. So two very different profiles of influencers, but influencers nonetheless when you look at their numbers. So from the brand created content to the influencer created content, and now we look at two examples of how consumers now start responding back in this case.
तू कहे तुझको भी पिला दे हर घूंट में स्वैग है हर घूंट में स्वैग है
So those were, users who have just responded back, not part of any kind of financial, transaction. And this is what happened from a results point of view. This whole activity got about 3 billion hashtags. More than, 35,000 videos got created and linked back to the challenge. And that is what is the power of this platform. The last thing that I'll share with you is I want to take you back to the CSR stuff that we had talked about, right? How people are reacting on CSR. And I'll share with you two examples. One is on Clean India, which is kind of, the analog of like Swachh Bharat. And the other one is like Your Life Matters, which is about suicide prevention. The thing to note is between these two, they have received about 6 billion views. Not these specific videos, but these two campaigns.
La 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 मेरी उम्र के नौजवानों
तुम अकेले नहीं हो
तुम किसी पर बोझ नहीं हो
You are loved.
This is just a phase. It will pass.
Time heals everything.
Your life has value beyond measures.
You are here for a reason. Your family needs you. हिम्मत रखिए.
There is hope.
Please don't give up.
Your life matters
And just to give you an answer, there's one last slide. Right? So just 3 principles that I walk away with when I look at it, which is really, and to keep it short and summarize, is democratize creativity. Use this platform to interact with your fans and your brand's fans. Don't just make it a one-way communication. Think of scaled solutions. We are talking about people reacting back with 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 videos, and total views for the campaign going in billions. So think in terms of scaled solutions, and redefine engagement. With that, thank you so much for being such a patient audience.
Thank you very much, Sam. And